You see text appear in the lower left-hand corner of a black screen. It says 2035 CE, Europa sector. As the blackness fades into a vision of an immense yet incredibly flat plain of white beige with light tan striations etched across it, you begin to hear the crunch, crunch, crunch of footsteps on snowy rock. A cryo geyser erupts. Violently, your screen transitions to an excavation site. As the scene comes into focus, you see a few people in spacesuits around what seems to be a work site of some sort. As one of the workers pass by the camera, you see the name Red Sea Mining emblazoned on one of the breastplates of the seemingly armored-looking spacesuit. The camera follows the person in the suit, and as it does, a large circle cut directly into the surface of the moon comes into view. Perched across and above the missing section of the crust is a rigging system held aloft by high-tension cables. The work begins to become slightly frenzied, and a sense of anticipation can be felt within the thin oxygen atmosphere. Chatter begins to quiet as a large, angular, obsidian black object is lifted out of the once undisturbed ancient waters. The workers spring into action, moving around with the speed and efficiency of a team that's obviously done their fair share of artifact retrieval. Little did they know the sequence of events that they were about to start, though. The camera detaches from the action amongst the workers and begins to focus in on the object, closer. At first, you begin to distinguish lines and shapes etched, formed out of the material. A deepness of black so dark that it seemingly swallows whatever light that touches it. The camera zooms closer, and you begin to hear the hum as you see blue lines of bluish-white energy pulse in one direction, and then the next. The camera continues zooming in, closer and closer, to the point of being able to see the molecules that make up the edges in the atmosphere around the object. Then you notice the object has that same bluish-white energy field around it, and it's splitting off and consuming atoms one by one. For what? Who knows? Faster and faster, this process of atomic separation happens until the camera snaps back out suddenly, and you hear yelling and screaming everywhere. The object is consuming the moon and those around it. A near endless vacuum is just removing the people, the crust, the water, and the very moon itself from existence. It took less than a minute for this object to obliterate what took untold eons to form. As the object hovers in space, a vibration begins deep within the core of the object, beneath that impenetrable surface. Then a burst of white, wide-spectrum energy is released from the object. In that burst contained the rocket fuel for launching humankind to the stars, or the bomb that would destroy them all. A real-life Akashic record suddenly falls from the heavens into the collective hands of the planet. Knowledge from beyond. Generations of information and discovery from dozens of species, all with a single goal in mind. To pass on what they know so that maybe the next one gets it right. As the solution to Fermi's paradox is self-destruction. Within that repeated wide-spectrum signal is contained the secrets to Earth's wildest dreams, yet it was only the beginning. Fusion power, quantum computing, nanotech, neural interlaces, atomic manufacturing, and so much more. This broadcast became known as the InFlux event. Though it was only the beginning, as it was only an elementary school primer provided from beyond those collective alien graves. The signal was designed to get a technologically capable enough civilization up to speed, and then they're left to prove themselves. That proof can be provided to themselves by decoding the further data within. That data, known as flux data, is the most valuable thing now. The camera pulls back and back and back until the object fades from view, blending into the infinite expanse of space. Once again, you see text in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. 2046, Terra Sector. The blackness of space fades, and an object is seen again. This time it's Terra Sector, or Earth. Our species' home planet. The spheroid begins to fill the whole of the screen. As it does, you can begin to see something as different than the Earth maybe you know. The surface has far less lights across it. There seem to be concentrations of blinding light, though, still. With the camera seemingly on a collision course with the planet, everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger and fills the screen. The camera swoops down through the atmosphere, revealing large stretches of destroyed landscapes, higher oceans, insane winds, blinding rain, enormous typhoons, a crack of lightning across the sky. The camera settles in on a flyby of the North American continent, or what it used to be. You see what was once Washington, D.C., the hub of global power, laying now before you in ruin. Collapsed building after collapsed building. If you were to look very carefully, you'd see the scorches left on the pavement where people once were before the bomb went off. Separatist rebels nuked China, Russia, and the U.S. simultaneously. No one reacted well, especially the nation states, though their death throes would be over soon enough. The camera keeps moving across the land, with humans evacuated from much of it. It seems that the planet has had time to begin to heal itself. Occasionally, you see what could possibly be a lone house or a hut flash by. With the crossing of the continent behind you, what used to be the Los Angeles Valley begins to come into focus. Just ruination lays before you. A landscape of shredded buildings. What little is left seems to have been harvested for scrap. The rapid motion of the camera, never ceasing, begins moving up the western coast, and in the distance, you can see the night sky begin to lighten. In the lower left-hand corner, New San Francisco, capital city of the Terran Arcology Consortium. As the NSF comes into view, you see from above the hills, stretching out towards the skies, magnificent, gleaming, bluish towers constructed from nanoscale manufactured titanium silica composite materials. The blue lights traveling much further than the pinks and the reds and the yellows and oranges that are seen up close. Beneath you lay large stretches of protected mill zone land where Varangian forces live, train, and test new weapon systems. Moving ever closer to the NSF, a megacity to end all megacities. Lights of every color and brightness seem to penetrate the camera lens as it wraps around the western coast of the city, taking in all the parks, homes, and transit systems of some of the wealthiest of the wealthy, encapsulated by long stretches of shopping district. The camera whips around the peninsula, and heading east now, you can begin to see the industrial area of the city surrounded by the docks. You can see various aerodrones, as well as seagoing drones coming and going from the various facilities on the northeastern side. Off to one side, you can see the glistening new convention center with its high-tech bubble construction. Off to the other side of the docks, you can see the Shard, a haven for crime, fights, and gang-related activity located at the now disused sports arena. Seemingly cutting a large wound into the impenetrable exterior of the NSF skyline, various roads, skyways, and transit systems lead into the pulsating heart of the NSF. The camera swoops low to follow the road, hearing the beeps and hums and yells of a lively cityscape, as it finds its way past brightly lit advertising holosigns written in Mandarin and English. Past the towering 25,000-person apartment buildings, past the street kids and gangbangers vying for space on the streets, it pulls into focus on an unassuming building. A rather boring-looking, regular-looking building amongst the likes of giants. The building has no signage, no one coming or going. With a silent motion, the camera slides sideways to the front of the building, getting closer and closer to a top-floor window. As if there was no glass to speak of, the camera passes right through the window. Once inside, you can hear the sound of technology and of one person speaking gruffly to someone. "I don't give a fuck what he..." As the man says what would become his final words, a minor whirring sound is heard, and then whoom! The camera immediately shifts back outside and above the building. With one large crack, the building begins to crumble. Clouds of vaporized debris rise from that rubble. After what seems like an eternity, but was mere moments, you see a few hesitant people begin to scramble over and into the debris. The camera fades. What happens over the following days, few are privy to, and certainly not someone such as a lowly runner, but the calls went out. Deals have been made. So, let's start our campaign.